Welcome to Women Living Intentionally, also known as Women Lit. My name is Kaditra Cooper, and I am the founder and executive director of Women of 4D. Women Lit is an extension of the vision and commitment of Women of 4D. On this platform, we will recognize and value the personal journeys of women and also take you through their experience of resilience, influence, and endless possibilities and how they've manifested in their lives. You are more than enough. Never let your circumstance write your story. It can't hear your heart. Until we meet again, remember, the possibilities are endless.
Hello, and welcome to Women Living Intentionally with Eileen. We're with Dr. Karyn Ward to talk about her book, Faith Walk, Using Your Faith Tool to Get Through Life's Challenges. Dr. Ward, welcome.
Hello, thank you for inviting me.
We're excited to be here with you and talk about your book, Faith Walk, Using Your Faith Tool to Get Through Life's Challenges. So tell us about the process you used to write Faith Walk.
Okay, well, let me give you just a little bit of backstory with the process. I had planned to expand the research that I had done for my doctoral dissertation. The topic was all about teacher-student relationships with African American male elementary students. So probably about 6 months prior to the inception of Faith Walk, I had already decided this is what I'm writing about. I've gotten another copy of the manuscript. I started highlighting all the different areas in my research I was gonna, expand upon or rework or add to, all those things. So that started probably January, February of 2017. So when I got to June of 2017, I had just resigned from my position as a administrator in an elementary school, and I said I'm gonna give myself a couple of weeks just to kind of catch my breath and relax, and then I'm going to get started for real on the writing of this new book, because like I said, the book was going to be all about teacher-student relationships for these little boys. However, when July came of 2017, one day I go to pick up my manuscript because I've decided this is the day I'm going to start this big process. And as I'm flipping through the pages, it was just like stale manna. All my passion for this topic had completely dissipated, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. And it completely caught me off guard because, I had already spent 2 or 3 years writing the dissertation, and it's all that I had been thinking about and talking about up until this point. So here we are, in July 2017, and I realized the very thing that I thought I was going to do, my plan, is not working out at all. And I really felt lost because at that point I knew I wanted to write a book, but I didn't know what I was going to write about if I'm not going to write about this. So I'm driving the car in August, and it just dropped in my spirit. You're going to write a book about faith. And I said, Lord, you want me to write a book about faith? I mean, who's going to read that? Who's going to buy that? Let's be honest, Lord. I'm not a minister. I'm not a pastor. I'm formally trained in education, not theology. Where do I even start with that? Why? Why would you want me to do that? That doesn't even make sense to me. And so, I'm having this back and forth conversation with God, and then he really just kind of lays it out for me. Hey, you're going to write a book about faith. It's going to be called Faith Walk. The process is going to look just like it did for your dissertation. You know how to do this. It's like, really? No, I don't see the correlation. I don't think so, Lord. Once again, why would I? You want me to do this? This just doesn't make sense. No, yes, it really does make sense, Karyn, when you think about the fact that all your conversations are in some way, shape, or form about faith. When you talk to your friends in the various parts of your life, you're always talking about, the challenges and how you overcome them, or they're talking to you about their challenges and how they became victorious. But it's all about having to lean on their faith. And so that's the process that I used. I created a list of names, called people, whoever agreed was a part of it. I recorded them. I asked everyone the same questions. I used like an interview protocol, and that's all that is, just a list of questions that you ask everyone. I promised everyone that I would use a pseudonym. They would be shrouded in anonymity, so we wouldn't use their name. And I learned that technique writing the dissertation. And then I audio taped them. I transcribed the audio tapes, and then I just made the transcription sound less like interview, more like story. And that's really kind of the process that I used to write Faith Walk. I knew it wasn't going to be just my story as one individual, but a collection of various stories.
Can you share with us the inspiration behind Faith Walk?
It was definitely God inspired, because it wasn't my idea at all. But I definitely rely heavily on the scripture, we walk by faith and not by sight. And so for me, writing Faith Walk was an example of my faith walk. Learning to trust in God to be able to accomplish a task that you in the physical just can't quite see. In the natural sense, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to you or even to others. But when it's really in God's will, it really does come together, because ultimately his purpose always stands.
How did you find the people who shared their stories with you? Is there any significance in the number of stories you shared? There were a total of 10.
So, as I was negotiating the whole thing with God about, really you want me to do it? I said, well, Lord, who am I going to talk to? Well, you start with your inner circle. Start with the people closest to you. Share the vision and see what they say. You're not asking their permission, but you're inviting them to be a part of this great work, if you will. And so I talked to people that I knew, that I was close with at work, at church, people that I had grown up with, just people whose paths, I had crossed different phases in my life. And originally I thought it was just going to do 7, because for me, 7 has always been completion. And once I got to 7, I made a whole list of names, and I just kept calling people. And I said, well, I've interviewed 7 of them and it should be done, but it didn't feel like it was completed. It just didn't feel like it was done. And so I thought, well, okay, not 7. Let's try 8. Nope, still not 8. Let's try 9. And after I finished the 9th interview, it did feel completed. And actually 9 is representative of bearing fruit, like the 9 fruits of the Spirit. But like I said earlier, every name in Faith Walk is a pseudonym. It's not that individual's real name, because I do believe, and I learned, like I said, with the dissertation work years prior, that when you shroud people in anonymity and you don't reveal their identity, you keep it a secret, that they're more willing to be authentic and tell you the truth. And so I thought it was only fair that if these 9 amazing individuals were courageous enough to share their truth, to share their story about how they dealt with life challenges by using their faith tool, that I should do the same. And so the 10th story just became mine.
We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back with Dr. Karyn Ward and her book, Faith Walk, Using Your Faith Tool to Get Through Life's Challenges.
We hope that you're enjoying the interview with Dr. Karyn Ward. Let's take a quick peek inside of her book, Faith Walk, Using Your Faith Tool to Get Through Life's Challenges. My exit plan. My name is Nidra, and at this stage in life, I know what faith is, and I have faith. Don't you hear the song, You've Been So Faithful? It's playing in the background. Faith to me is trusting God and believing that no matter how bad the circumstances may be, or how bad or bleak things may look, or how hard things are, it's knowing that everything is going to work out because God is in control. And knowing that God is in control, I have peace that everything is going to work out. That is faith to me. I would not be sitting here today if it weren't for my faith and trusting God and knowing that His will for me is good and that He loves me. No matter what the circumstances may be, knowing that it is going to work out all right. But this is me now. There was a time, though.
We're back with Dr. Karyn Ward to talk about her book, Faith Walk, Using Your Faith Tool to Get Through Life's Challenges. Dr. Ward, tell us, what do you hope people will get from reading Faith Walk?
Well, I hope that Faith Walk will encourage someone that by reading Faith Walk, an individual will ultimately increase in their own faith. Something happens when you see others or hear about how others have overcome challenges. I think it gives you the strength or the courage to feel like, yep, I can do it too.
Dr. Ward, Faith Walk is self-published. What advice would you give other authors who want to self-publish their book?
I would say be patient with yourself, especially regarding deadlines. I really thought I would be able to get Faith Walk completed, on the market and everything, maybe a year tops. Well, that wasn't the case. Like I said, the idea came August 2017, and it was launched on Amazon July 2020. So, life gets in the way. Things come up. You just really have to leave room for God to interrupt your plans and really just be patient with yourself. If you miss a deadline, and it's typically a self-imposed deadline, it's okay. Just start. The point is that you start and that you finish.
Okay, that's really good advice. Tell me, has Faith Walk helped you or changed your life in any way?
It has definitely been a blessing to me. It has increased my faith. As I was listening to the audio recorded interviews, I myself was like, wow, that person did so and so. It was just like sitting in church hearing like the best sermon over and over and over again. And it really revealed to me that there's always provision in the vision. If God takes you to a thing, He will see you through that thing. So it really increased my faith. Now I know that if I'm inspired to take on a project, even if it doesn't appear to make sense initially, if it's in God's will, it's definitely going to work out.
We're going to take another break, and we'll be right back with Dr. Karyn Ward and her book, Faith Walk.
We hope that you're enjoying the interview with Dr. Karyn Ward. Let's take a quick peek inside of her book, Faith Walk, Using Your Faith Tool to Get Through Life's Challenges. When my youngest child was just a toddler, my marriage to my husband of 13 years began to fall apart. One day I looked up and realized that my husband, the love of my life, had gotten strung out on crack cocaine. He wasn't coming home at night, and sometimes for days at a time. I didn't know where he was or who he had become. This man, who once upon a time had said the sweetest things to me and held me gently in his arms, had become verbally and physically abusive towards me. He lost his job, his reputation, many of his possessions, and all of our money. This created a lot of stress for me, and it began affecting my health. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. I was so stressed out that I couldn't enjoy life at all. I had to make a decision about what I was going to do. One day in the midst of an argument, he hit me. He actually grabbed me and tossed me on the hood of the car. And that right there was my wake-up call. I filed for divorce and got a restraining order to keep him away from me and our children. I wasn't sure what I was going to do or how I was going to make things work. Unfortunately, I thought I needed someone in my life, someone to help me, so I got involved with a new man. That was a mistake. He felt so safe to me at the time. He had been a friend to my ex-husband and me over the years, so I thought that I could trust him. I knew that I had made a mistake getting mixed up with this new guy. I realized that I had to get my life together, and he was not going to be a part of my future story. I found the courage to finally tell this guy, hey, this ain't happening between us, and you're gonna have to leave. He became verbally abusive and physically abusive towards me. This emotional seesaw I was on had me up and down and walking on eggshells all the time. Finally, I broke down and said, Lord, I have made a mistake. What do I need to do? How do I get out of this? God gave me a plan, an exit plan, that would ultimately save my life.
We're back with Dr. Karyn Ward, talking to her about her new book, Faith Walk, Using Faith Tool to Get Through Life's Challenges. Dr. Ward, tell us, is there any one story that resonates with you and why?
Each of the stories is special. They each touch on an authentic struggle that ranges from marital issues, the death of a child, challenges at work, spouses having health emergencies. The list just goes on and on. But I would say that my favorite part of Faith Walk isn't so much a specific story, but the different scriptures and the different coping strategies. I thought it was comforting to know that, people play certain songs or read and write scriptures on Post-it notes or use a prayer journal or create war room cards. Just the idea that, everyone in Faith Walk found some strategy or mechanism really helped them during that difficult time to focus and to ultimately feel closer to God.
Now, you mentioned that some of the people you talked to used a prayer journal. Can you explain or elaborate that and how they would use a prayer journal?
Sure. So it's actually in the chapter called Keeping It Simple. The person describes how they use, and they call it a simple acts prayer. And the A stands for acknowledgement, the C is for confession, the T is for thanksgiving, and the S is for supplication. So for acknowledgement, they actually just wrote about anything where they were that they were praising God for, not necessarily for certain things, but the who He is. So how they think that God is mighty that day, or how did they see God's power in a situation that might have happened before. And then the confession part is, any sin that they felt like writing down, that was a longer section. And then the Thanksgiving section was all about their gratitude that day. And then supplication was all about friends that might need prayer or any circumstances that need to be prayed for. And so it was basically just a journal that was set aside where they could record, these 4 steps on a daily basis.
Is there anything else you'd like to add about your journey writing Faith Walk?
Well, it's definitely, a real passion project. It's been a blessing to me. I hope that other people that decide that they will read Faith Walk, that it becomes a blessing to them as well. Faith Walk is currently available in paperback on Amazon. As you know, if you have Amazon Prime, there's no shipping, but it's also available as a Kindle ebook version. And then in 2021, it will be converted to an audio book as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. And what's the cost for the book?
The paperback is priced at $10.99, and then the ebook is priced at $5.99.
Okay, that's good. That's affordable, and people can go ahead and pick this up. Last question. As a single mother with a busy and demanding career, your volunteer service, and a teenage son, how do you prioritize self-care?
I have to write it on the calendar. If it doesn't get written on the calendar, it doesn't happen. I've also learned that I have to be just as intentional about doing things for myself as I am for others. I have to purposely make myself a priority, whether it's just taking 10 or 15 minutes a day just to meditate or to work on a puzzle, or whether it's deciding to take an afternoon for a nice walk at the beach or getting some ice cream, whatever it is that I decide that I need in that time or in that space, then I have to be as present as possible. Cast aside all the other cares and just really spend time sewing into myself. Typically, we as single moms and busy people feel like that might be selfish, but if you don't take care of yourself, you really won't be as effective taking care of others.
And that is so true. So basically, you have to make the time to take care of yourself.
Yes, schedule it in.
Well, Dr. Ward, thank you for joining us this evening. Again, we've been talking to Dr. Karyn Ward about her new book, Faith Walk, Using Your Faith Tool to Get Through Life's Challenges, and it's available on Amazon.com.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope that you all keep the faith.
Thank you, Dr. Ward, and you have a great evening.
Thank you for joining us today for our interview with Dr. Karyn Ward on her new book, Faith Walk, Using Your Faith Tool to Get Through Life's Challenges. We would also like to invite you to our book club, which will meet on March 25th at 7 p.m. via Zoom. And our book club selection is going to be Faith Walk, Using Your Faith Tool to Get Through Life's Challenges. If you need any additional information, it can be found on our website, www.womenofd.org. Until we meet again, remember, the possibilities are endless.